Hello, everybody. I'm assuming I'm live trying to figure all this stuff out. And thank you very much for coming on with us. My name is Lisa Bousson. I am in Michigan. Deanna Fitzpatrick is in Delaware. George Koury is in New York. And we are the three mediums coming to, I feel like the three horsemen, right? We're the three mediums coming to you in Michigan in July on the 18th, 19th, and 20th. So we're talking today about those three events that are coming up, one in Port Huron, one in Rochester, and one in Macomb Township. So we'll get a little bit about that. I'm going to turn the floor over to Deanna. She'll tell us a little bit about herself, a little mini interview type thing, and I'm going to try to figure out how to start recording this thing.
Okay. All right. So just a little bit about myself. I started working professionally in about 13 years ago. And this was after an experience, I guess about 5 or so years before that, where I went to a hypnotherapist for weight loss. And instead, I started seeing spirit after she did the hypnotherapy and didn't really know what was happening to me. And then I saw a show that another medium was doing and realized that that's what was happening to me, and started taking classes, and that's where I met these lovely people and at some of the classes that we took, and all of a sudden, before I knew it, I was doing it professionally. So 13 years into it now.
You know what's funny? I remember sitting in a class, I don't know whose class it was, sitting in a class, and Deanna and I were sitting next to each other. I don't know where the hell George was.
I was strung out somewhere.
Maybe you were probably on the floor enjoying the vibes, right? You were probably there. We hadn't met you yet. So Deanna and I were sitting there and at this class, and there was this lady who stood up in the audience, and she was like, "Oh, I look like 3 months out. I can't take it." And Deanna and I looked at each other like, "I want to be that person." And now I'm like, "Oh my gosh, 6 months out." So be careful what you wish for, right? Yeah. Now all three of us are traveling around the country and more. So it's such a cool thing to be able to serve spirit. So I have a trick question, maybe not a trick question, but something to show us your personality, Deanna. What's your favorite kind of pie? What's your favorite pie, Deanna?
Pie, banana cream pie.
Yum. Yum. I love that. I think Brian's is my husband is coconut cream, but banana cream is right up there, let me tell you. Yeah.
My dad, he introduced me to every type of wonderful sweet baked good that there exists out there. Matter of fact, if you remember on the cruise recently, we had, you never had sticky buns.
Nope, never had sticky buns.
They don't have sticky buns in Michigan. I can't believe it. So
you know what? My grandson had just talked to me about sticky buns. He says, you get them at Costco. The sticky buns at Costco look more like a cinnamon roll, like the spiral, right? But they're not cinnamon. It's more like honey, right? Doesn't look like your sticky buns.
No, that was amazing.
All right, I hate to interrupt this love fest, but we have some questions coming in.
Nice.
For those of you who are listening in, Lisa, Deanna, and I are talking today, answering your general questions about the afterlife. Is there a heaven and hell? What happens when you die? What is a mediumship reading or public reading like if you've never had one? We're not able today to do private reading, so we apologize for that. And the reason is because we need, in order to read for you, we at least need your voice, or even better, to see and to hear you. And right now, we're just not set up for that. So any general questions, please type them in the Facebook feed here.
Yes. Okay, sir. Go ahead, George. Tell us about who you are and what makes you tick.
What makes me tick? I love mystery novels, SpongeBob SquarePants, and Lump. My favorite pie is lemon meringue, although I don't eat sugar anymore. I'm also allergic to gluten. Damn. But I am a former, this is the God's honest truth, a retired former circus clown, and I can throw any pie, any kind, Probably 6 feet and hit a target. Impressive, isn't it?
Like my mouth. So lemon meringue. My mom made one hell of a good pie. I think my favorite pie has probably got to be cherry. Yeah, my mom could make just about anything. So every pie she made was great, but I think my favorite was the cherry pie. So
Lisa, I apologize for interrupting you, but the feed goes by very quickly.
It does.
Gosh, we had a gentleman here, and I've lost the comment. Hold on, but he says my kind of pie is any.
I'll
Rob,
take that.
Rob says any kind of pie.
I love that.
All right. So one of the questions that comes in is, what happens to a person, a soul, when they commit suicide? Who would like to take that?
I'll take it since no one's jumping. I'll take it. And as a matter of fact, I just talked to someone about this last night. One of the things that I've been told many times by spirit is that suicide, whether intentionally or unintentionally, this is usually caused by a mental disorder, right? Whether it's depression, bipolar, whatever, right? So there's always some underlying cause or an association with like why they committed suicide in the first place. Whether there's drug use or not. Now, what I've come to know is, we've all heard like God doesn't punish you for dying of a heart attack, or God doesn't punish you if you die in a car accident. Well, these are all things that this is an illness, just like a heart attack, right? So mental illness is no different than a physical illness. So passing from a mental illness is no different than passing from a physical illness. So, and God's not going to slap your hand when he gives you free will. Okay. However, the after effects on a suicide are quite different. Very often we'll hear about someone sticking around until after the funeral before they choose to cross over, for any number of reasons. However, what I've experienced personally is that with a mental health issue, whether it's suicide or dementia or what have you, that a lot of times they're taken away immediately by guides, angels, loved ones, or whatever, so that they can heal. You see, that's not a physical ailment. It's a mental ailment. So there's a bit difference. So do I believe they go to hell? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think they go to heaven just like everybody else.
Great answer. And Deanna, actually, if you wouldn't mind fielding this one, this is from Deborah. And she wanted to know if there are different levels of heaven and hell.
Well, I probably have an unpopular, I have no indication of hell in my experience with working with the spirit world.
I agree.
You've never
So,
been to an
if
Elvis
there is
convention.
one, I don't have any example of that. As far as levels in spirit, I don't know if it's really considered like levels, like, runs up a ladder, but there are frequency changes. So the folks that are newly passed are often what feels like at a frequency still higher than ours, but lower than maybe someone who's been gone 30 years. Some folks who are fairly new to the earth plane and not really, I found recently, very interesting, narcissists seem to be very much frequency same as earthbound people, very similar. So I don't feel that their frequencies are very high when I connected them with this in spirit world. And I always wonder if that has something to do with their experiences here on earth. But there's something that are like levels, but I don't know that I like calling it levels, because I don't think it's about you being a better person necessarily. It's just maybe how many times you've been around the block and what you've learned from it.
Great. Lisa, do you want to take a moment? You didn't really introduce yourself.
I'm Lisa. I've been working with spirit for a long time. I used to see spirit coming and going just as if they were real people. I couldn't tell the difference. But you learn to not talk about it, because other people who can't see them criticize or tease you or whatever. So you learn to be quiet. And then I guess it was about mid-30s that a light switch turned on and I couldn't turn it off anymore. And so I decided, long story short, to study, to learn how to control it instead of being controlled by it. And that's all she wrote. Yeah, so I gave up my real job, and started doing the woo-woo stuff. And it's been great. It's been great ever since. I should have done it a long time ago. Long time ago. Cherry. Cherry's my favorite pie. Everybody get that. So at one of these galleries, I'm expecting cherry pie.
I'll bring you the
Let somebody bring me a little hostess thing, right? I'm kidding. I don't need pie. Believe me, I don't need pie.
All right, we have a question here from Jeremy, which I'm going to take. Do you believe that certain suicides could have been pre-planned before reincarnating on this level to serve as a lesson to others? Jeremy, I feel that the real answer is we don't really know. My opinion, based upon being in touch with the spirit worlds and departed loved ones, is that we all have free will, and it just, to me, would go against the whole concept of free will. Just as people expect, a lot of people expect that you're automatically going to reincarnate. I don't feel that that's the case. I feel that everybody has free will, and if they want to stay in the spirit world, in the heavenly realms, that's their choice. But the real answer is we're going to have to wait until we get there. All right, so I realized I didn't introduce myself aside from telling you about my circus background. I am a full-time medium, working with private sessions and group demonstrations and classes. And my maternal grandmother was a medium, and she helped to raise me, and I learned so much from her. I wish she had been around longer. But I really love this path. It's not just a living. It's really a path that you have to have, I believe, a calling for, and your heart has to be in it. And I just really I'm very grateful to be doing what I'm doing. All right, gosh.
I agree with you there. I agree that it's a calling, because it's not an easy thing to do. Right? It's not easy to be criticized and excommunicated, and because believe me, guys, all three of us have been in those shoes. It's not a fun thing, to be bombarded by and talking about death and suicide and every day, right? So, anyways, let's go back to the fun stuff.
All right, we have tons of more questions. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm trying to write them before they disappear in the feed. So either of you lovely ladies, this is from Rosemary. If we don't feel a spirit around us, does this mean they aren't there? I lost my mom, and I wanted to know if I have a loved one guiding me. All right, so Jessica, I'm just going to answer part 2. We are not doing personal readings today, for which I apologize, but we can answer in a general way the first part of your question. Did you both get that, Lisa, Deanna?
Was that Rosemary or Jessica?
Rosemary.
Okay. And George, I'm sorry, would you say it again? Or no?
It's gone in the feed. Let me paraphrase. If I don't feel a spirit around me, does that mean that they're not there?
I don't believe so. I believe that most of them are around us at some point or another, and they show up to us at very, very different ways. Some people do experience them visitation dreams, where they'll show up acting like themselves. They look like themselves, maybe interact or talk like themselves. Often the talking is telepathic, not verbal. There are signs or symbols all types of signs or symbols that come up. My dad can either be a cardinal or a flying pig. There are, some people find coins. Sometimes you feel it. You'll just get the chill up the back of your neck or back of your spine and just know for a moment that someone's there. But it's about being totally aware. Now, not all spirits, I have a father-in-law who I love dearly, and he doesn't come through as much as my mom or my dad does. I'm not sure why that is, because I feel that their family is very open to receive information from them. So it may just be that some spirits are more into it than others, but I don't think it's ever a personal thing where they don't love you or care about you. I feel like they would want to do whatever they can to let you know that they're around and available to you.
That's great. Thank you, Deanna. So we want to say hi to Nancy, Vivian, Jessica, Michelle, There's just scads of you here online. All right.
Scads.
Another
So before
question.
we go on, let's talk about one of the 3 events.
Oh, great.
So the first event on the 18th of July is in Port Huron, Michigan, right along the Canadian border. You could throw a stone over there, over the water. And it's a lovely, absolutely lovely setting. It's held at the Doubletree in the Port Huron Hilton. And I think it's 800 Harker. That's by memory. Oh, I probably won't be able to do that for the other 2. Yeah, so it's really cool. It's a really cool setting, and there's a lovely restaurant, Freighters, that's hooked on to the hotel. So we always meet for dinner afterwards. So that's always good. Yeah, so come along. Yeah, it's a great thing. You'll see a lot of Canadians coming over, as well as, of course, our U.S. chums. Yes, so that's a Port Huron event. All the 3 of the events, by the way, will begin at 7 p.m. and run till 9 p.m.
And I just wanted to add that they're so much fun. They're uplifting. Whether you have lost a loved one that you feel you need to contact or not, the evenings are uplifting. There's a lot of laughter and tremendous healing that goes on. So if you're not in the area, please send somebody who is. I'm sure you know somebody local.
I keep saying, I told you earlier that I keep seeing people walk by in cars, because like my front window is right here, as you can see the light on my face, and it's almost like, ooh, squirrel, or ooh, dead person. So I keep on looking. It's like, I think that there's spirit people walking around. Sorry.
All right.
Go ahead, George.
We have a bazillion questions here, and we really appreciate them. They're great questions, by the way. From Vivian. And it's gone in the feed. All right, so I'm going to paraphrase it for you. Vivian wanted to know that when a soul is acknowledged, I presume she meant by a medium, does that soul then move on? Lisa, do you want to take this one?
I don't necessarily understand the question. Do they move on? Like, do they so they're out of the room? They're like, they've done speaking. They're done speaking, so they go on. I don't quite understand.
Answer to the best of your ability.
Okay, so if let's say there's 5 people here in spirit right now. If I talk to them one in an order, it doesn't mean that they automatically leave just because they're done speaking. They hang out, right? But may no longer be connecting in with our radio station here at the third eye area. So for them to communicate with us, and maybe that's why I think we talked to who was it, Rosemary earlier. Maybe they're just unable to tune into your radio station. Who knows? We don't know. But do they move on? Yeah, of course. They're all in heaven. But and this is a miscommunication or misconception that some people have, that they can only speak before they've crossed over into heaven. And that's not the case. That's not the case. That's a Catholic thing and sometimes a Christian thing, my kidlets, where there's this holding tank, right? Whether it's purgatory or whatever, and we can talk to them in this space, and then they move on and we can't talk to them. That is absolutely not true. That's absolutely not true. We can communicate with them the second that they pass, and even before they pass as a spirit, right? So if they're in a coma or unconscious or whatever, we can communicate with that spirit immediately, all the way up through their crossing. And even, this might blow your mind, and even after they've reincarnated.
Beautiful.
That's a whole new ball of wax, isn't it?
Thank you, Lisa. All right, I'll take the next question from Mary. And again, this is past, so I'm paraphrasing. I apologize, Mary, if I've blundered your question, but she's asking about babies and wanted to know for babies, excuse me, that pass, is there an in-between in the afterlife? Well, this kind of touches on Lisa's response. The Catholic Church actually stole the Tibetan Buddhist concept of an in-between or a holding area. The Catholic Church calls it purgatory, and it's usually connected with some kind of mark against the soul or sin. There tends to be a negative association to it. The Tibetans call it bardo, and it's the place in between lives where we go to have our life review. We determine if we're going to come back again, and all of those circumstances. The soul also receives healing. And my personal belief is that any child that passes, whether they have taken breath or never taken breath, definitely goes into the spirit world and has the opportunity to evolve and grow. I don't believe that there is any quote unquote sin or mark on them of a negative nature. So I hope that that's a help. All righty, let's see. Deanna, Diana, I'm sorry. Deanna, do you want to take this? This is from Diana, and she said that she had a visitation from a loved one in her dream, and that had never happened before, and kind of wanted to know, what's up with that.
So what's up, as in why did it happen at that time, or?
Yeah, I don't think she specified.
Yeah, most likely there's just a series of events that have to come together before that can happen. One is remembering your dreams. I believe we probably get visitations way more than we're aware of. I rarely remember my dreams, so on the rare time I have a visitation, I'm very excited. There could also be an opportunity if we get into astral travel and connecting with spirit that way. Sometimes it's because they just want to let you know they're there, and they know that something difficult's going on in your life, and they want you to know that you're supported. But there's a whole series of, Lisa was talking about frequencies and tuning in, so all those kinds of things can come into play.
That's great. I love your answers, both of you. Thanks to Mary. Hi, Norma, Amanda, Deborah. All right, we have yet another question here. These are great questions. I didn't get this person's name again because the folks are moving very fast on the feed. Lisa, would you like to take this? What happens to a soul that has been murdered?
The family contacts me, and we help solve. Sorry, I'm so bad.
Don't be a smart.
I know he's being a smart aleck. So a soul that's murdered, there's, this could be huge. This goes like way beyond this scope of this webinar. One of the situations that I have found, because I have worked murder cases, and in talking with those spirit people, is one of their reasons for going through this. And it doesn't have to be like before I was born, I knew that I was going to be murdered. No. Both of them, the two that I actually talked to, both of them talked about being of service in a way that not only affected the family, but the community as well as, and especially the community of the perpetrators, which, a lot of times, seriously, if one of my kids or where I'm was murdered, I probably wouldn't really care a heck of a lot about the perpetrators. But that's something that both of them said to me was, so there is a higher purpose here, but it's not necessarily what we believe. It's, how that being a victim affects us and affects those around us, and even those that are involved and like steps of that crime. Do they go to heaven? Sure they do, just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they stick around and try to solve their murders.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So the next gallery that I would like to speak about is on the 19th, which is in Rochester, Michigan, at UpDog Yoga. That is at 210 University Drive in Rochester. For some reason, that venue, it's crazy. Sometimes there's no light, sometimes there's no heat, sometimes and it's all spirit driven. I can't tell you how many times I did it. Wound up doing a gallery there once there was absolutely no electricity. The whole city was out of electricity. So I did a gallery by candlelight, and there was probably 100 candles. I don't know where she came up with that many candles, but there had to be 100. And I tell you what, I get more compliments on that one because it was so cool. So you never know what's going to happen in an event, a public event, and you have to run with that. You go with the show has to go on, right? So you have to do what you have to do. And so you guys might see in these galleries, because there is so much spirit activity involved, you might see some weird stuff. You never know.
And I blame Lisa.
I'm sure you do.
That's my conclusion. Can we take like 2 or 3 more quick questions?
Yeah.
Can I add something in, Lisa?
Yes.
Somebody had posted on the Facebook feed asking how we would know, how we pick the spirit people for the audience, how we would know. Can you answer that for folks?
No, you do it.
Ah,
I
okay.
just talked, it's your turn.
That didn't work. So what we do is normally we will connect with spirit and have them give us information that pertains to them, so that you will know it's them. And then we give it back out to the audience so that, well, and hopefully George is really amazing at giving detailed evidence. So you'll get detailed information from them that will help you know, yes, that's my dad, or, that's my grandmom. And then you'll basically raise your hand and we'll validate with a few more pieces of information and hopefully follow that up with really wonderful messages from them.
And I think that question was from Norman. Norman, that's actually a great question, because I would say probably the most important part of our task when we're in a huge audience is to connect the spirit in heaven with the right recipient in the audience. It's something that is on the top of our list in our hearts and our minds when we work.
Right. I think for all of us, I know for all of us that integrity is right up there. It's probably the top thing. So what all of us, the 3 of us do, is called spirit-centered mediumship. In other words, we go to spirit first. Everything we say, do, see, hear, whatever, comes from spirit. So we're just the radio station. We're the messenger, right? So we have no control over where we're going, because the spirit come and get us, right? So where we're going in the audience, we have no idea where we're going, right? Now, there is something called client-centered mediumship where you can do that, There is something, and I will address it, there is something that some people think, oh, you only pick your family, or you only pick your friends, or seriously. If you are in the audience, you look at some of the evidence comes through, there is no way that some of the weird stuff that comes through could possibly ever be found, right? So because our name and our reputations are always at stake, of course they are, that is of utmost importance to us, is that integrity and the honesty and just giving what we're getting, right? And that's it.
Beautiful.
Go ahead, George. What you got, babe?
From Deborah, she wanted to know about exorcisms. This is a very controversial subject. I'll give you my experience, Reader's Digest version. I do not believe in evil spirits. I know that it's written about in all of the religious literature around the world, but what I believe those spirits are etheric thought forms that are created by a group who, over time, hundreds and hundreds of years, with a belief in Lucifer, the devil, create in their minds and on the etheric plane an energy that actually, if you're sensitive enough and you tune in to the etheric, the astral planes, you will see devils and you'll see demons. But I think it's really a collective thought form. I don't feel that there's anything in the spirit world that can harm us. Hence, I feel like exorcisms are kind of like, they're interesting, sometimes very entertaining. I don't mean to disparage people who believe in them, but I don't think that they're necessary. That's but it's a great question, Deborah. All right, so I want to say hi to Mariah, Anna, Patty. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Let's see if we have, if somebody wants to comment on this, Lisa, Deanna. Kathy wrote that on her birthday last year, 2 feathers appeared within a few hours of each other.
So I find feathers to be amazing, and that spirit, again, one of those signs or symbols that they can that they can show us. And especially when there's no feathers don't just fall out of the air for no reason in random places. I mean, they've got to come from a pillow or a bird or somewhere. So they're a really great indication of spirit being present. I know some people believe that that means that the angels are near, but I did have a lovely client once whose son would send her and her daughter feathers, and they had a whole box full of feathers. And right before they came to their reading with me, 2 feathers fell from the sky, and I thought it was amazing. And then in the reading, they discussed the feathers falling. So it sounds like a beautiful birthday gift that you received from your loved ones in spirit.
I love that.
All right. Can we do one final one?
Sure.
Why don't we all chime in? Do you meditate?
Not as often as I should. I will admit to that. Should I do it every day? Absolutely. Twice a day, every day. However, I am not one, I have trouble sitting still. I get antsy, but I can meditate. You know, if you start out with 5 minutes and then go to 10 minutes and then go to 20 minutes and, you know, keep on adding up, you can do it. Right now, my meditations usually last about 15 minutes to 20 minutes at the most. Seriously. Do I find, well, I find that when I have a feeling of having lost my connection with spirit, or I feel out of sorts, meditation is where I go.
I sit for an hour every day, and I jokingly tell people it's not because I'm holy or spiritualist, because that's how much crazy I have to bring down to normal, whatever that is. It's interesting. There's a lot of mediums who say they never meditate, they never sit, and they're great at what they do. And others say couldn't live without it. I'm in the second group for sure. And it makes, for me, it makes everything better. It makes the day go smoother. I'm more efficient, less grouchy.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, I'm a huge believer in it. Deanna, how about you?
So I think when I first started awakening and started doing this work, I meditated, like Lisa said, twice a day, found it so invaluable. It was amazing. The connections that I felt, you know, sometimes even during the meditation, connections with higher beings and angels and things like that. And they just really helped me feel elevated and at the same time grounded and on point with my life. I found as time went by, I didn't have as much interaction when I meditated. It was often quite nothing was happening. And I think my ego got very bored that it didn't have something to keep it, you know, occupied while I was sitting in meditation. And so after a while, I'll be honest, I dropped it some, but recently I've started meditating again, normally not around the time I work, usually either in the morning or in the evening, but not during the time that I work, because I feel like I'm amping up my energy before work, not coming into the zone.
Beautiful. Well, I just want to say thank you to the last few folks here, Nicole, Robin, Joyce, and Deanna.
Yeah, the last of the 3 galleries is on the 20th of July at the Mind's Eye in Macomb, at the corner of 21 Mile and Hayes in Michigan, of course. You know what, these events will sell out, so if you don't have your tickets yet, I really urge you to do so, to get them right away. There may be room for walk-ins, but I can't guarantee it. And once we're sold out, we're at standing, no, we're done. I thank you, everybody, for listening in. Thank you, George. Thank you, Deanna. I love you both.
Love you too.
Boy, I look forward to seeing you at our events. And everybody who's listening in today and in the future, come on out. You never know what's going to happen in these galleries. We don't know. It's always a crapshoot, let me tell you. But it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of tears. And it's really a heartfelt time, events, while you're becoming aware that spirit's really there. They're really there. You know, because then, like I said before, some of the evidence that there's no way that we could have possibly known without them actually being present. So in that, I hope that you find peace in knowing that, everybody, and I welcome you. Yes, the events are from 7 to 9 each night. The tickets in advance can be found on my website. Just go to mediumlisa.com and go to the public events page. You can get your tickets there. They are $35 a piece. Walk-in is $40. If you are one of the recipients of a past coupon, we will not be accepting coupons for these events. So you cannot use those. Unfortunately, you'll have to come back and use them for another one of my events. But until then, we will see you in a couple weeks. 4 weeks, in a month, the 18th, 19th, and 20th. So look on my website. You can also find me on the Facebook page. You can also find this information on Deanna's page as well as George's page. Anything I'm missing, guys?
Nope. We really look forward to seeing you all.
All righty. You guys take care. God bless everybody. Mwah.
Much love. Bye-bye.
Bye.